This is lecture 7.2 for Math 095. Today we're going to talk about graphing linear equations using the plotting points method and the x and y intercept method. So a linear equation in two variables makes a straight line. So we looked at this in the last class when we were plotting points, and then we were given an equation that had an x and a y in it. And then we were given part of an ordered pair. So they either gave us the x and we plugged it in to find the y, or vice versa. They gave us the y value of an ordered pair and we plugged it into the y value of the equation and solved for x. That's the process that we're going to use to graph a linear equation using points. Okay, so really we want to find three ordered pairs that are solutions to the equation. So we're finding three x and y ordered pairs that are solutions. If we have an equation, take x plus y equals 10. If I say x equals 2, then I am starting my ordered pair that looks like that. X is 2. I can use my inverse operations to solve that equation for y. So for this equation right here, if x is 2, my y value has to be 8. I can plot that point on my x and y coordinate plane. Once I find another one, I'll be able to connect those and make a point, or make a line. Okay, so we're going to start with the equation x plus 2y equals 6. We can pick any values of x. Okay, it doesn't matter what they are. In my math lab, the first couple questions like this, they will give you three x values to use. After that, you can pick your own. The x values go from -10 to 10 on the coordinate plane that they give you, so you need to pick x values that fall between -10 and +10. Okay, but if they give you x values, then those are the ones they want you to use. Okay, so if x is -1, I'm going to plug in -1 for x in my equation of x plus 2y equals 6, and I will use my inverse operations to solve for y. So first I'm going to add 1. So 2y equals 7, divide by 2, and y will equal 3.5. Okay, so that gives me my first ordered pair, -1, 3.5. My second x value is 0, so 0 plus 2y equals 6. 0 plus 2y is 2y, so if 2y equals 6, I can divide by 2. And if y is 0, or x is 0, y is 3. So I have my second ordered pair, 0, 3. My third x value that I'm picking is a 1. So 1 plus 2y equals 6. I'll subtract 1 this time. 2y equals 5. And when I divide by 2, y equals 2.5. So when x was 1, we solved the equation to find out that y was 2.5. We have three ordered pairs and we can graph them. So if x is -1, we go to the left one. My y is 3.5, so I go up between the 3 and the 4 and plot my point. The second one is the ordered pair 0, 3. So at my origin, x is 0, so if x is 0, I cannot move left or right. If y is 3, I can move up to the y value of 3. My last one that I picked, y was 1, so I go to the right one, and I go up 2.5 steps, plot my point, and neatly draw my straight line. Okay, since I have my chart over here, I don't need to label those 3 points that I have highlighted. That's one way to graph a linear equation in two variables, by plotting points. The second method is by what we call using the x and the y intercepts. Now, in order to use this method, we have to understand what an x-intercept is. So if I have my coordinate plane here, we know this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. An x-intercept is a point on a graph where it crosses the x-axis. So if I have this line here, let me see if I want to insert a shape, a line. There we go. So this point right here is what we call an x-intercept to this linear line, because this is the point on the x-axis that intersects the x-axis. This would be the y-intercept right here, because it intersects the y-axis. Okay, if I asked you to name this ordered pair, we would name that 3, 0, because it's sitting at the x value of 3 and the y value of 0, because I did not go up or down the y-axis at all. If I asked you to name this ordered pair, it would be 0, -3. My x value is 0 because I did not move left or right on the x-axis, but I moved down 3 steps to the y value of -3. Knowing what ordered pairs for x and y intercepts look like is important. All x-intercepts have a y value that is equal to 0. That means if we want to find an x-intercept, we let our y variable equal 0 and we solve the equation for x. That will give us an x, y ordered pair where y is 0. The y-intercept has an x value of 0 always, so to find our y-intercept we let our x variable equal 0 and we solve the equation for y. Okay, so let's try one. That's what I just talked about. We're going to use the equation -3y minus 2x equals -6. We want to use the x and the y-intercept method. So an x-intercept, here's an ordered pair. This says let x equal 0. So if x is 0, we're going to figure out what y is. So in my equation, I'm going to let x equal 0. So -3y minus 2 times 0, x is now 0, equals -6. -2 times 0 is 0, so that cancels out. So we have the equation -3y equals -6. So I can divide by -3 and y will equal +2. So this says if x is 0, my y value for this equation has to be 2. So I have the y-intercept of 0, +2. That is one ordered pair. I need to find another one. So to find my other intercept, I do the opposite. Now I let y equal 0. So -3 times y, which is now 0, minus 2x equals -6. Now if y is 0, I'm now solving for x. -3 times 0 is 0. That cancels out. So I have -2x equals -6. Again, use my inverse operations by dividing by -2, and x will equal +3. So this time, if y was 0, we found x to be 3. So these are my two ordered pairs that I will use to graph this linear equation in two variables. 0, 2, I always start at the origin. My x value is 0, so I cannot go left or right. My y value is +2, so I go up 2 steps. My x-intercept, again, start at my origin. My x value is +3. My y is 0, and I can draw a line through these 2 points. Still have a linear line, a straight line. I can use those two variables. If they ask you to pick another point, okay, pick one of the x values like 1. You should be able to determine what your y value is. Okay. Now, we are used to the equation y equals a number or x equals a number to represent solutions to equations. And they are, but however, y equals a number also represents the equation of a horizontal line. So a horizontal line will not be an equation in two variables. It will be an equation with one variable, y equals a number. So if I'm asking you to graph this one variable equation, y equals 2, well, on my graph, here is where y equals 2. But if I draw a horizontal line, this is the ordered pair 3, 2. my y value still equals 2. If I pick this ordered pair, it's the ordered pair -4, 2. My y value still equals 2. So this equation, y equals 2, yes, it's a solution to any equation, but it is also describing the equation of the horizontal line where every point on that line has a y value of 2. So this one where y equals -3, here's where y equals -3, and every point on this horizontal line also has a y value of -3. Our vertical line then is the opposite. Vertical lines are an equation in one variable where x equals a number. So if we look at these and we're asked to graph them, x equals -4. Here's where x equals -4. And if I draw a vertical line, every place on this graph has an x value that's -4. This is the point -4, 3. My x value equals -4. Down here, this is -4, -2. Different point, but my x value still equals -4. So x equals -4 describes a vertical line. And over here, if x equals 2, here's x equals 2. Try that as neatly as I can. Here's a vertical line where every point on that line has an x value of 2. So solve this equation for x. Okay, this is an equation that if I solve it for x by using my inverse operations, I can subtract 1. 2x will equal 10, and when I divide by 2, x equals 5. So my solution to the equation is x equals 5, but my graph will be a vertical line where every point on that graph has an equation where x equals 5. So no matter what point I pick here, all of these highlighted points have an x value of 5. Their y values will change, but x will be 5 here, x will be 5 here, x will be 5 here, and so on and so forth. Okay. Homework for the next class is 7.2 My Math Lab. It is due at the beginning of our next class. Let me know if you have any questions.